Hey, what's going on everybody? It's Tori and I'm back with another episode of Blazers Pulse. Now, I asked you guys questions almost 2 weeks ago. I just haven't gotten around to making the video, so it's finally here. Usually I'm going to try and make this video 2, 3, 4 days after I ask you guys the poll questions. But up until recently, I was doing game-by-game recaps and it was really hard to focus on other types of videos. So that's why I'm doing weekly recaps now if you aren't in the loop, and it'll allow me to be a little more prudent in making these types of videos for you guys. So we're going to look at some of your answers to those poll questions, and I'm going to talk about how I feel. Make sure to subscribe to True Blazer Fan if you haven't already done so. We're trying to reach 5,000 subs, and leave a like on this video if you enjoy it. It helps us grow on YouTube. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at ToryJonesYT and follow the channel on Twitter at True Blazer Fan. So now let's jump into what the community thinks in regards to some of the poll questions I asked you guys almost 2 weeks ago. In question number 1, I asked you guys for some New Year's resolutions. Anime Jake said finish design school and find meaningful employment. Dude, that's awesome. I'll probably need some help down the road with some graphic design, so I'll make sure to stay in touch with you. Jill Swenson said, not crazy or interesting, but I am going to eat better and exercise more. That's something I definitely need to do. CatLord007 says, not break anything when the Blazers give up a 20-point lead, and I agree. Your cats probably wouldn't like that. And in the past, there was a game, I think I was in high school, that the Blazers absolutely blew, and I think I ripped my shirt in half. I was just tugging at the collar in frustration, and it was a pretty weak shirt. I actually ripped it in half. It did make me feel better, but I also really liked that shirt. Question number 2, who would you prefer to play in the first round of the postseason? I give you guys the OKC Thunder, the Lakers, the Houston Rockets, the Denver Nuggets, and the Utah Jazz. That's because those are the 5 most likely playoff opponents in my opinion. Those are the 5 teams that I think will be right around us. And 50% of you said you would want to play the Oklahoma City Thunder, and they always seem to struggle in the postseason. But all these matchups were very, very tough to pick between. The Utah Jazz have been crushing us lately. The Denver Nuggets right now are the top team in the West. Oklahoma City Thunder have 2 stars in Paul George and Russell Westbrook, and they have some role players that have been stepping up lately, namely Jeremy Grant, who I think is one of the most underrated power forwards in the league, and of course Steven Adams. We just lost to them at home in a game that I don't think we played well down the stretch, and they played great in, and we were in that game till the very end. I'd probably also want to face the Oklahoma City Thunder because I just like the way we match up with them. Damian Lillard always seems to have success against Russell Westbrook, and Yusuf Nurkic always wins that matchup between him and Steven Adams. The outlier there is Paul George. We would really need to lock him up in a 7-game series, and his production would probably be the key to that series. In the end though, I care more about how we're playing going into the playoffs than who we're facing off against. Anime Jake noted our sweep last year of the Oklahoma City Thunder, where we played really well against them. He also noted that Westbrook hasn't been playing well. The only game he played well was against us when we lost, because other than that, he's been pretty inefficient this year. The Goatus said, it doesn't really matter. What's interesting is that the Northwest Division is always heavily represented. Last year, nearly the whole division was in the playoffs, and that's true. The Denver Nuggets and Minnesota Timberwolves were the 4th and 5th teams in that division, and they played on the final night of the regular season to get that 8th seed. I also think we'll have another 4 teams in the playoffs this year, being the Denver Nuggets, Oklahoma City Thunder, Portland Trail Blazers, and the Utah Jazz. The Minnesota Timberwolves, after trading Jimmy Butler, aren't as good as they are last year, so they'll drop out in my opinion, but still, that's a very, very good division. Question 3, I asked you guys, what is your favorite Blazer uniform? I also asked you to comment your least favorite down below, and I gave you guys a link for reference, and I was very surprised by the results in this poll. The Black Icon Edition was the most popular jersey of them all, which is basically just what used to be the Road Black uniform. The least favorited was the normal White Association Edition uniform, so those results really surprised me. Coming in second was the Two-Tone Gray Rip City Edition, which I would say is my favorite for sure. I really like the Two-Tone Gray. I didn't really like the jersey at first until I saw it on the court, and I was like, yeah, that's pretty fresh. I still wish we had that plaid design that we did on our Rip City uniforms, maybe changed it up a little bit, but kept the plaid somewhere in there because I think that was true to Portland. It really made sense for a Rip City Edition uniform, but since they scrapped that, they did a pretty decent job with that Two-Tone Gray. It's similar enough where it's not obnoxious, obnoxious, but it's also different enough that you can notice the difference. Samuel Dooley disagrees with me. He says, I think the two-toned Rip City ones look like practice uniforms. You might as well go out there in the warm-ups. I'd love to see the vertical words uniform like from the championship year, and I do think a throwback uniform like that with the vertical lettering would be pretty cool. I just don't see how those look like practice uniforms. Don't the practice uniforms have very small lettering across the front, and you know, it's kind of like that penny, the little fabric with the holes in them? Thanks for your opinion, but I gotta disagree, man. I don't see how those are like practice uniforms at all. I think they're cool. Question number 4, I asked, if Portland developed its own G League affiliate, where should it be located? And we are one of the last teams in the NBA to not have its own G League affiliate. So when we assign players to the G League, like we did with Wade Baldwin and Caleb Swanigan, other teams with their G League affiliate have to allow us to assign players to their G League affiliate. And if none of them allow it, then they're essentially raffled off. That's what happened with Caleb Swanigan and Wade Baldwin. They got raffled off to the Texas Legends, I believe they're called, and that's an affiliate of the Dallas Mavericks. I do think it would be nice for us to have our own G League affiliate where we can develop guys through the G League close to home. They could maybe even still practice with the NBA team and then play in G League games. I don't know how exactly that'd work, but I do think it would be helpful. 36% of you said South or Eastern Portland, Tualatin, Lake Oswego, Milwaukee, etc. And I wonder if that's just because that's where the most people that answer that poll are from. Me, I'm from Vancouver, Washington, so I think it'd be pretty cool to have a team here. Of course, we just don't have a gymnasium up to the standard of housing a G League team, but I just think it'd be cool to have something like that up here in Vancouver, Washington. We're getting a new waterfront, and that's going to be cool. It'd be cool to have a G League team as well. It'd make it very easy for me to cover them for you guys. Beaverton and Hillsborough also had 25%. Vancouver, British Columbia had 10%. I think that's a little too far away in my opinion. I would like for it to be closer to the Portland, Vancouver metro area. 4% of you voted other, comment below, and only one of you commented below saying Seattle. All the other people that voted other and didn't comment below, I'm just going to assume you meant the moon. BTW13 Gamer NBA fan said I picked Beaverton or Hillsborough because they never really have stuff there, but I think you can also make that case with Vancouver, Washington. Regardless of where it's located though, we need our own G League affiliate. In question 5, I asked you guys, in the future, would you like a weekly or bi-weekly podcast with me and a couple of friends? It would be 30 minutes to an hour of us discussing mostly Blazer basketball, but also some NBA on the side. Of course, I haven't even talked to Eric about this at all. And we don't have any plans to do this anytime soon. I was thinking maybe during the summer when we have a big lull in terms of stuff that I can cover and full highlights, maybe it'd be cool to do a weekly podcast leading up to the draft, just talking about draft prospects and that type of thing, talking about trade possibilities, talking about the upcoming offseason for the Portland Trail Blazers, something like that, just because we won't have much content during the summer. 41% of you voted yes, 44% of you said maybe we'd have to see how it turned out, and 15% of you voted no. And I honestly don't blame anybody for voting no, because I know that a lot of people don't have 30 minutes to an hour of their time to spend listening to a podcast. You know, maybe you multitask by going to the gym and listening to it there or something like that. I just know it's not for everybody, so it might be something we do during the off season, but a lot of things would have to work out for that. Brian Amlin said I'm available for this, and I think that'd be something cool to maybe have a couple of true Blazer fans, a couple of you guys, spend a segment with us talking about Blazer basketball. I think that'd be cool to make content with actual members of this community. And in question 6, I asked if you could hang out with any Blazer for a day, who would it be? And for some reason, this got many more votes than the other poll questions. This got over 600 votes. 69% of you voted Damian Lillard. 11% of you voted for CJ and Yusuf Nurkic. 5% of you voted for Myers. And 4% of you voted for other. Me personally, if I could hang out with any Trailblazer for a day, I'd pick Al-Farouq Aminu. A couple of years ago, I was actually at NBA's Summer League and I ran into somebody from Aminu's agency that represented him, and I told him I was a Blazer fan, and we just started talking about Aminu. Apparently he likes to make beats in his spare time. I don't know if that was just a little like few month hobby that he had, but from somebody in high school who used to kind of mess around with music in the same way, I think that was pretty cool. We need Aminu producing a Dame Dollar song, but just from what I can tell, he's probably the most humble, down-to-earth Trailblazer on the team. He just seems like another guy, seems very easygoing, seems like somebody who I'd be completely comfortable with. With a lot of players players, I'm kind of geeking out. Like, that's an NBA player. I have no idea how I'd do if we had to interview an NBA player for a segment for this channel. I'd probably be geeking out a little too much for it to be top-notch quality, but Al-Farouq Aminu is probably the one guy who I'd be completely comfortable with. In the past, I have met Jake Layman. He was a very chill and cool guy. A bunch of people who rode an Uber won tickets to the game and got to meet him, and a lot of them weren't Blazer fans, so it was a little weird. I was probably the only diehard Trailblazer fan there. A lot of them had no idea who he was, and even though it was weird, Jake Layman, he owned it, got asked a few questions, that type of thing, and he didn't give off the vibe that he didn't want to be there. He was actually pretty chill about it. I also had no idea how to pose for this picture with him, okay? I wanted it to be normal, you know, like I take a picture with my friends, but then it was also a little weird, I don't know. But yeah, I told him keep working, good luck the rest of the year, and he was like, thanks man, appreciate it. Very, very chill guy. A lot of you guys had a bunch of different answers. Zach Collins, Aminu, Evan Turner, Anthony Simons, Maurice Harkless, Seth Curry. Ryan Adams said Seth Curry because he'd want to get into his thoughts on his brother. I think that'd actually be really interesting to talk to Seth Curry about if he was unfiltered. Somebody said Damon Stoudemire if you're talking about a past player. And yeah, that's all we had for the poll questions from a couple weeks ago. I will ask you guys new ones in the next week and follow that up with a video in 3 to 4 days afterwards. This time I'll make sure to get that out faster. A couple of trade videos is coming up shortly. Weekly recap tomorrow on Sunday, and then Monday mailbag on Monday. So anyway, as always, I hope you're enjoying the content, and I hope you enjoyed this video. This has been Tori. I'll see you later. Go Blazers.